The screen door banged against the frame like a gunshot. "Get the hell out of my house, both of you," their father roared, his face twisted with disgust. "You want to live like that? Fine. Take this piece of junk and never show your faces here again." Brody Carter felt the words hit him harder than any punch. At 25, he and his identical twin Jordan had just watched their entire world collapse in the living room of the modest two-story house in rural Ohio where they had grown up. Their mother stood in the corner crying quietly while their older sister smirked from the couch. The piece of junk was an old 1969 Chevrolet that their grandfather had left behind years ago. It sat in the backyard under a tarp, rusted, dented, and forgotten. Their father tossed the keys at Brody's feet. "That's all you're getting from this family. Now leave." Brody picked up the keys, his hands steady even though his chest felt like it was caving in. Jordan stood beside him, pale but silent, their identical faces mirrors of the same pain. They had come out together 6 months earlier in a quiet conversation that somehow reached the whole town. The gossip spread like wildfire in their conservative community. Church friends stopped calling. Neighbors whispered. Their father, a proud factory worker who quoted scripture at dinner, had held it in until tonight. The final straw was catching Jordan hugging a male friend from college too long. Now the twins were being thrown away like trash. They packed 2 duffel bags in under 20 minutes. Brody grabbed their birth certificates and a few photos while Jordan took his sketchbook and laptop. No one helped. No one said goodbye except their mother, who slipped Jordan $100 when their father wasn't looking. "I'm sorry," she whispered, tears streaming. "I love you both. Just be safe." The van coughed to life after 3 tries, the engine rattling like an old man's lungs. As they pulled out of the driveway, Brody glanced in the rearview mirror. Their father stood on the porch, arms crossed, watching them go without a single wave. The highway stretched dark and empty ahead of them. Brody gripped the wheel tighter than necessary. "We knew this could happen," he said, his voice rough. Jordan stared out the passenger window, the passing streetlights catching the wetness on his cheeks. "Doesn't make it hurt any less. Dad looked at us like we were strangers, like we were disgusting." They drove in silence for the first hour, the van's loose parts clattering over every bump. The interior smelled of mildew and old leather. A crack ran across the windshield like a scar. But it ran. That was something. They stopped at a truck stop just past Columbus to fill the tank and buy cheap coffee. Jordan leaned against the van while Brody pumped gas. "Where are we even going?" Jordan asked. Brody shrugged. "West. California, maybe. Somewhere people don't look at us like we're broken." Jordan laughed bitterly. "You always were the planner. Me? I just draw pictures and hope the world doesn't hate them." They sat in the van eating gas station sandwiches, talking about the moments that led here. How they had covered for each other in high school. How Brody dated girls to throw off suspicion while Jordan stayed quiet and buried himself in art. How they promised that no matter what, they would never abandon each other. By midnight, they were back on the road, heading toward Indiana. The van's heater barely worked, so they kept their jackets on. Jordan finally spoke again. "Do you ever wonder if they're right? If this is some kind of punishment?" Brody shot him a sharp look. "Don't start that. We didn't choose this. We just are who we are. And if being honest means losing them, then maybe we never really had them." The words hung heavy. Jordan nodded slowly, wiping his eyes. "I keep seeing Dad's face. The way he said fags like it tasted bad. Mom didn't even try to stop him." Brody reached over and squeezed his brother's shoulder. "We have each other. That's more than a lot of people get." They found a cheap motel off the highway near the Illinois border as the sun rose. The room smelled like cigarettes and stale air, but the beds were soft. Jordan fell asleep almost immediately, exhausted from crying. Brody lay awake staring at the water-stained ceiling. He thought about the life they had lost. Sunday dinners, holidays, the familiar comfort of knowing where they belonged. Now they had nothing but each other and this broken van. Yet something stubborn burned in his chest. They would survive. They had to. The next morning they kept driving. The van started making a new knocking sound, but they ignored it. In a small town in Illinois, they stopped for breakfast at a diner. The waitress was kind, but the locals stared when the twins sat close, talking quietly. One older man muttered something under his breath. Jordan tensed. Brody just paid the bill and led them out. "Let them stare," he said once they were back in the van. "We're not hiding anymore." Jordan smiled faintly for the first time since leaving home. "Yeah, free, I guess." As they crossed into Missouri, the van began to struggle on hills. They pulled over at a rest area. While Brody checked the engine, Jordan explored the back. He pried open a loose panel behind the driver's seat looking for a jack. Instead, he found a small metal box welded awkwardly into the frame. It was locked. "Hey Brody, come look at this." They couldn't open it without tools, but the discovery gave them something new to focus on. Maybe Grandpa had left more than just a rusty van. Maybe there was a reason their father had been so eager to get rid of it. That night, in another motel, they talked until dawn about what the future might hold. Dreams of Jordan selling his art in galleries, Brody maybe going back to school for engineering. They avoided talking about the family, but the wound was fresh. Every mile west felt like both escape and exile. The van rattled on, carrying them toward an uncertain tomorrow. Two brothers bound by blood, and the shared pain of being told their love was wrong. The knocking sound grew louder as they pushed through Missouri. Brody nursed the van at 60 miles an hour, wincing every time the engine protested. "We need to find a mechanic soon," he said. Jordan was fiddling with the locked box again, using a screwdriver from the glove compartment. "This thing is sealed tight. Feels heavy too." They stopped in a small town called Rolla at a garage that looked like it had seen better days. The mechanic, a burly man named Hank with grease-stained hands, walked around the van whistling. 1969 Chevy G10. Custom work too. These are getting rare. Most got scrapped years ago. He popped the hood and spent 20 minutes poking around. "Needs a lot of love, but the bones are solid." "Where'd you boys get this?" Brody told him the short version. Hank raised an eyebrow but didn't pry. "Tell you what, I'll fix the timing chain for cheap if you let me look under the panels. Might be worth restoring someday." While Hank worked, the twins walked to a nearby park. Jordan sketched the trees while Brody called their mother from a payphone. She answered on the second ring. "Are you boys okay?" Her voice cracked. "Your father. He's still angry. Says he never wants to hear your names again." Brody swallowed hard. "We're fine, Mom. Driving west. Tell him the van's running." "Barely." She hesitated. "He gave you that thing to punish you. Grandpa always loved it, but your dad thought it was worthless. Be careful." The call ended abruptly when his father yelled in the background. Brody hung up, fists clenched. Jordan saw his face and didn't ask questions. Back at the garage, Hank had good news and strange news. The repairs would cost $200, which they could barely afford. But he had opened the mysterious box. "Found this inside the frame. Looks old." He handed them a small leather pouch. Inside were several gold coins, heavy and gleaming, along with a faded note in their grandfather's handwriting. "For the ones who understand what matters. The world will try to break you. Don't let it. This is my real legacy." The twins stared in shock. There were more coins hidden in other spots Hank discovered while working. Not enough to make them rich yet, but clearly part of something bigger. "Your grandpa must have been a collector," Hank said. "These are St. Gaudens's double eagles. Worth a pretty penny even in this condition. Keep looking. There might be more." They paid Hank and drove on, the van running smoother. The discovery changed the air between them. "Grandpa knew," Jordan said softly. "He never said anything, but he knew about us. Remember how he always defended us when Dad got strict?" Brody nodded. "He left this for us, not them." The realization brought both comfort and anger. Their father had dismissed the van as junk, never bothering to check what his own father had hidden. Now the twins carried a secret that felt like justice and burden at once. In Kansas, the prejudice hit harder. They stopped at a roadside motel where the clerk eyed them suspiciously when they asked for one room with 2 beds. "We don't want any trouble," the man said. Jordan's face flushed. "We're brothers." The clerk grunted but gave them the key. That night they lay awake listening to the wind. Jordan whispered, "I hate that we have to explain ourselves everywhere. Like our existence is a threat." Brody turned to him. "We're not the problem. They are. One day we'll find a place where we don't have to defend who we are." The next day, the van's radio picked up a gospel station. The preacher railed against the homosexual agenda. Brody switched it off angrily. Jordan laughed despite himself. Perfect timing. They talked about their childhood church, the guilt they had carried for years, the prayers they whispered separately at night hoping God would fix them. Coming out had been terrifying but also freeing. "I don't want to go back to pretending," Jordan said. "Even if it means losing everything." Brody agreed. "We already lost the family we thought we had. Now we build something real." Near the Colorado border, they pulled into a diner for lunch. A young man about their age sat at the counter nursing coffee. He had kind eyes and an easy smile. When he overheard the twins debating routes to Denver, he turned. "Heading west too. Name's Ryan." Jordan felt an instant spark. Ryan was an illustrator traveling to meet a client in California. They talked for over an hour. Brody watched his brother light up in a way he hadn't seen since before the blow-up. When Ryan left, he gave Jordan his number. "Safe travels. Maybe we'll cross paths again." Jordan pocketed the paper like it was gold. That evening, as the sun set over the plains, the van's engine hummed steadily. The hidden coins sat in their bag, a tangible reminder that their grandfather had seen them. The family that rejected them had unknowingly given them both freedom and fortune. But the pain lingered. Brody wondered if they would ever stop looking over their shoulder. Jordan sketched Ryan from memory, a small smile on his face. For the first time since leaving Ohio, hope felt possible. Denver welcomed them with thin mountain air and a sense of possibility. They found a cheap extended-stay motel on the outskirts and used some of the coin money to get the van a full tune-up at a specialty shop. The mechanic confirmed what Hank had suspected. The van was a rare custom model with original features that collectors craved. "Restore this right and you could clear 6 figures easy," he said. The twins exchanged glances. 6 figures. Enough to start over properly. Jordan called Ryan that night. They talked for 2 hours. Ryan was staying in Boulder for a few days. "Come up," he said. "I know a great gallery that might like your work." Jordan hesitated only a second before agreeing. Brody drove him up the next morning, dropping him off with a supportive hug. "Have fun. You deserve it." While Jordan spent the day with Ryan, Brody explored Denver alone. He found a support group for LGBT youth at a community center and sat in the back listening. The stories mirrored their own. Parents who quoted Bible verses, siblings who distanced themselves, the crushing weight of conditional love. One young man said, "I came out and my dad said I was dead to him. Took me years to believe I wasn't actually broken." Brody left feeling less alone but heavier. Jordan returned that evening glowing. "Ryan gets it. He came out at 17 and his family eventually came around. He's kind, Brody. Really kind." They talked late into the night about what a relationship might look like on the road. Jordan worried he was moving too fast. "Everything's so unstable right now." Brody reminded him, "Life doesn't wait for perfect conditions. If it feels right, don't let fear take it." The next morning, Jordan met Ryan again. They walked through the mountains, hands brushing until they finally held. The kiss happened under pine trees with the sun filtering through. Jordan described it later as the first time he felt truly seen without shame. Meanwhile, Brody dug deeper into the van. In a false bottom under the cargo area, he found another cache. More gold coins, old stock certificates, and a letter. Their grandfather had written it during the 1980s when he was ill. "I saw how the world treated people who loved differently. Your father never understood. If you're reading this, it means the van reached the right hands. Use it to live free. Forgive if you can, but never forget your worth." Brody cried reading it. The family had mocked them with this van, but it was actually their grandfather's final gift of acceptance. When Jordan returned, they counted the new finds. The total value was climbing towards serious money. They decided to keep heading west but slower, researching restoration shops and coin dealers along the way. In Utah, they faced another confrontation with prejudice. At a campsite, a group of men made crude comments when they saw the twins sharing a tent to save money. Brody stood up to them calmly but firmly. "We're brothers. Mind your own business." The tension passed, but it left Jordan shaken. "Will it always be like this?" Brody answered, "Not always, but when it is, we face it together." Ryan joined them for a few days as they crossed into Nevada. The three of them camped under the stars, talking about dreams. Ryan encouraged Jordan to submit his art to galleries in Los Angeles. Brody watched his brother fall in love and felt a mix of joy and loneliness. He was happy for Jordan, but the family wound made him question if he could ever trust someone that deeply. One night by the fire, Ryan asked about their family. Jordan told the story. Ryan listened without judgment. "You didn't lose a family. You lost people who couldn't love you fully. There's a difference." The van continued its journey, now carrying 3 hearts instead of 2. The hidden treasure grew with each discovery, but the real gold was the bond strengthening between the twins and the new connection blooming for Jordan. Yet Brody couldn't shake the fear that their father might somehow find out and try to take it all back. The road ahead felt longer than ever, but for the first time it also felt like home. Las Vegas glittered in the distance like a false promise. They parked the van at a budget casino lot and used some coin money to eat a decent meal. Jordan and Ryan were inseparable now, stealing quiet moments while Brody explored the strip alone. The noise and lights distracted him from the growing anxiety. Back at the motel, he researched the stock certificates online. Some were from defunct companies, but others had surprising value. Combined with the gold, they were looking at close to $1 million if sold carefully. The realization was dizzying. The call came the next morning. Their sister, Lauren. "Dad found out about the van. Someone from that garage in Missouri posted pictures online. He wants it back. Says Grandpa meant it for the whole family." Brody's stomach dropped. "He gave it to us, told us to take it and never come back." Lauren's voice turned sharp. "You two always were selfish, running off with whatever you could grab. Mom's a mess. Come home and sort this out." Jordan took the phone. "We're not coming back, Lauren. And we're not giving up what Grandpa left us." The call ended in shouts. The confrontation escalated quickly. Their father called next, demanding they return to Ohio immediately. "That van is mine by right. You tricked me into giving it away." Brody recorded the call without saying so. "You threw us out, Dad. Called us names. Now you want the one thing we have." Their father hung up. Hours later, an uncle showed up in Vegas, having flown in on a whim after Lauren told him where they were. He cornered them in the motel parking lot. "Your father is sick over this. Family sticks together. Hand over the papers and the van." Ryan stepped forward protectively. "They don't owe you anything." The uncle sneered at Ryan. "This your new boyfriend? Figures." The argument turned ugly. Brody stood firm. "Grandpa's letter makes it clear. He wanted us to have it. The ones who understand what matters." The uncle left threatening legal action. That night, the twins and Ryan sat in the van talking through the moral tangle. Should they share the money? Forgive? Jordan argued for keeping it all. "They rejected us completely. This is our chance to build something without their conditions." Brody felt torn. Part of him still craved his father's approval. What if we give them a portion? Prove we're the better people. Ryan listened quietly. "This isn't about money. It's about respect. They never gave you that." They decided to consult a lawyer in Los Angeles. The drive through the desert felt heavier. Jordan's relationship with Ryan deepened, but the stress tested it. One night Jordan snapped at Ryan over something small. "I can't do this if everything's falling apart." Ryan held him. "I'm not going anywhere, but you have to choose what kind of life you want. One defined by their hate or one we build together." Brody overheard and felt a pang of envy mixed with pride. In California, the lawyer confirmed their strong position. The van and contents were effectively theirs through the grandfather's intent and the father's explicit gift. Still, a lawsuit could drain them. They began the process of restoring the van at a classic car shop in Los Angeles, using it as proof of ownership. The shop owner recognized its rarity immediately. "This thing's a time capsule. Hidden compartments? That's straight out of a movie." Word spread in collector circles. Offers started coming in. Their family escalated. Lauren posted on social media painting the twins as thieves who abandoned their sick mother. The lies hurt more than the threats. Jordan cried reading the comments from old neighbors. Brody held him. "We know the truth. That's what matters." Ryan helped Jordan channel the pain into new artwork. Powerful pieces about rejection, identity, and chosen family. One gallery owner loved them and offered a show. The pressure built toward a breaking point. Brody started having nightmares about their father disowning them all over again. Jordan questioned if the money was worth the permanent rift. Ryan reminded them both that survival sometimes meant walking away. The van, once a symbol of mockery, now stood restored in the shop, gleaming under the lights, its hidden gold secured in a bank. The twins stood beside it, stronger together, but the cost was written in every sleepless night and every tear. The gallery opening in downtown Los Angeles was small but meaningful. Jordan's pieces hung on the walls. Raw drawings of two figures walking away from a dark house toward a glowing road, the rusted van prominent in each. Ryan stood beside him, proud. Brody mingled with strangers who praised the work, feeling protective and out of place. A reporter asked about the inspiration. Jordan answered honestly. Family rejection. Finding strength in each other and in love. The words spread online. Their sister saw it and called furious. "You're airing our dirty laundry for attention." Jordan hung up on her. The legal threat arrived via certified mail. Their father was suing for the van and contents, claiming undue influence and emotional distress. The twins met with the lawyer again. "We can fight and likely win, but it will be public and expensive." Brody felt the old guilt rising. "Maybe we should offer them something. End this." Jordan refused. "They threw us out like garbage. Grandpa chose us. I'm not rewarding cruelty." Ryan supported Jordan but worried about the toll on both brothers. The climax came when their father flew to California unannounced. He showed up at the motel where they were staying, looking older and thinner. "I want to talk." They met in a park nearby. Their father avoided eye contact at first. "Your mother is depressed. The church is asking questions. This has torn the family apart." Brody spoke quietly. "You tore it apart when you called us disgusting and kicked us out." Their father raised his voice. "You chose that lifestyle over your own blood." Jordan stepped forward. "We didn't choose anything except to stop lying. You chose to hate us for it." The argument escalated. Their father accused them of stealing. Brody played the recording of the original confrontation. Their father went pale. In that moment something broke. Their father sat down heavily on a bench. "I don't know how to fix this." Jordan's voice cracked. "You don't get to fix it on your terms anymore. We built something here, with people who accept us." Ryan stood a respectful distance away, a silent witness. Brody added, "If you want a relationship, it starts with respect. No conditions. No more shame." Their father left without promising anything, but the encounter left the twins drained and strangely empowered. That night Brody had a long talk with Ryan. "I see how you look at Jordan. Thank you for loving him when we had no one." Ryan smiled. "He's easy to love. And you're a good brother." Brody admitted his own loneliness. "I want what he has, but I'm scared." Ryan encouraged him to stay open. The next day they sold a portion of the coins to cover legal fees and living expenses. The rest they kept, using some to fund a small foundation helping LGBT youth kicked out by families. The lawsuit was dropped after their father received the lawyer's response and the recordings. No reconciliation came, but the threats stopped. Jordan's gallery show sold several pieces. One buyer was a collector who also wanted the restored van. They turned him down. The van had become a symbol too precious to sell. Brody began volunteering at the youth center, slowly opening up about his own journey. Jordan and Ryan moved in together in a small apartment. The twins saw each other daily, their bond unbreakable. The pain of the family's rejection lingered like an old injury that ached in bad weather, but it no longer defined them. They had paid the price in tears and fear, but they had chosen themselves. 2 years later, the van sat parked outside their shared warehouse studio in Los Angeles. It was fully restored now, a gleaming classic that turned heads wherever they drove it. Brody ran a successful auto restoration side business specializing in vintage vehicles. Jordan's art career had taken off with gallery shows in New York and a book deal. Ryan had become part of the family, his illustrations appearing alongside Jordan's work. They had built a chosen family, friends from the youth center, supportive neighbors, and each other. Their mother called occasionally in secret. She had started therapy and was slowly questioning the rigid beliefs that had cost her sons. "I miss you both so much," she said once. The twins invited her to visit but made it clear their father was not welcome unless he could accept them fully. He never came. Lauren sent a single angry text when she learned about their success and then went silent. The family that had mocked them remained distant, trapped in their own bitterness. One evening the three of them sat by the van watching the sunset over the city. Jordan leaned against Ryan, Brody beside them. "Remember when Dad tossed us the keys like we were nothing?" Jordan said. Brody laughed softly. "Yeah, best mistake he ever made." The hidden gold had given them the start they needed, but the real treasure was the courage to walk away and the love they found on the road. They used part of the remaining funds to expand the foundation, helping dozens of young people find safety and new beginnings. Brody finally started dating, a kind man from the youth center who understood the scars. The wounds from their past never fully disappeared, but they no longer controlled the narrative of their lives. As the sun dipped lower, painting the van in warm gold, the twins looked at each other and smiled. They had lost a family but gained a future. The price had been high, years of doubt, painful confrontations, and the ache of unconditional rejection. Yet every decision to stand their ground, to choose love over shame, to build rather than beg, had been worth it. In the end, was the Carter family's cruelty the greatest gift they ever gave their sons? Or does true justice require that some bridges stay burned forever?